Mr. Allen from IEEE side.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Can you give me host permission, or
Yeah,
can
yeah,
you?
sure. I will be passing
Yeah,
on the hospital.
yeah. Okay. So, yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. So, welcome back to the second spell of one-day workshop on bringing research focus. So, we have two more sessions. So, the first session of this afternoon will be handled by Dr. Madhu S. Nair. So, Dr. Madhu S. Nair is currently a professor in Department of Computer Science, Cochin University, and a very good friend of mine. He is a prolific researcher, has a lot of high impact factor journal publications to his credit. If I am not mistaken, it crossed 110 by this date. And the publications includes IEEE transactions. Madhu is working on image processing and computer vision related problems, especially on biomedical image processing. And he's a good collaborator, collaborating with a lot of foreign universities, and a very good contributor in the AI and computer vision lab of Department of Computer Science, Cochin University. So he is also recipient of many awards, including recently he has won the Kairali Researcher Award of Government of Kerala, AICT Vishwesvaraya Award, and maybe many more awards he has received. And I'm very happy to have a right person on the subject on article writing. The core value that I found in Madhu is he's always giving a lot of importance to the quality, and he believes that quality is not an accident; it's a meticulous uh, working style by which we adhere quality. So that is his belief. So without much ado, I would like to invite Dr. Madhu S. Nair for his presentation on uh, parts and parcels of article writing. And he is the right person who can give you more inputs on high quality writing. So over to Dr. Madhu S. Nair.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for the nice words.
Yeah.
So I'm very happy that I'm actually working in a department where I get a lot of support and guidance. And Dr. Santosh sir is actually, for me, he's like a mentor and he's like my elder brother. So I'm always happy to collaborate with these kinds of activities which he tries to organize. And last year also, I think he has done
Yeah.
organized this program very successfully, and he has tried to bring some good resource persons for this kind of activities. So I'm very happy to be a part of this event. So without much delay, I think only 1 hour has been allotted to me. So I don't know how much I can cover during that period, but I will try my level best so that I can give some ideas about the article writing, the experience that I have got as part of my research. So I will just share with you. So I think I'm audible, right?
Yes, Madhu, but little bit Voice is required. Yeah.
What about now?
Now.
I think I will switch off the fan. I think.
Yeah.
Is it okay now?
Yes.
Fine. Yeah. Okay. So I will just share the screen and then. So I hope you can see this.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, very much. Yeah.
First of all, I thank the IEEE Kochi subsection for giving me an opportunity to talk on this article writing. And let me tell you that as during the inaugural session, as Dr. Mini and Dr. The chief guest of the day has clearly mentioned that if you look at this quality of research articles, nowadays we all talk about this, and we know that most of the institutions are going for the accreditation process and all. And even as part of the national education policy also, it's very clearly written that the academics should go along with research activities. So that's why this IEEE has taken the initiative to organize such a program, and they have introduced these various topics for discussion. So here also we will have a discussion on how to write good research articles. And let me tell you that with this 1 hour, we will be getting only an overall idea. And you can use the tips that we share for the article writing. And let me tell you that this class is not enough. You should also work on that. You should develop your own style of writing. So that's really a skill that you have to develop. So within 1 hour, you may not attain that skill, but you will get an idea how to proceed. That's the idea that you will get as part of this program. Okay, so the first quote itself, I just want to repeat what the experts have already mentioned during the inaugural speech. There is no way to get experience except through experience. I am also giving a talk like this because of the experience that I've got as part of my research. That doesn't mean that my knowledge is complete in this domain. I'm still learning as a student. So I think this experience, when I share, you will understand that there are a lot of things that we have to consider while writing research articles, which I have learned from my teachers as well as from other experts. So those tips I am sharing. This is not nothing. Here I'm not going to say something which is new, which is already being discussed in various domains. But I'm bringing all those aspects into this presentation so that you'll get an idea about how to write a good research article. Right. And first of all, I would like to say this because many people before they go for the research, I think they should have an idea about this, why they want to write research papers and why they want to publish research papers. So there are two aspects of this. One is the ideal case and the other is the practical benefits that you get. The ideal case is very clear. That means you are doing research to come up with some new findings and discoveries. And we hope that that will definitely improve the current or the existing systems. So there comes the important part, because whenever you write a research article, the first thing that the experts will look at is whether anything new has been discussed in this article, especially if it is a review paper or if it is a original contribution paper. They will look at how much novelty is there in this. I'm talking about the top journals, right? Because some of the participants, they might have already written research papers. What I'm telling is when you communicate research papers to the top journals, the first thing that they will look at is whether this paper or the manuscript has got enough content. That enough content means the novelty. So that is very important, right? So one important aspect is the novelty that you should always consider. So when you say that I have made new findings and discoveries, then definitely you can write research articles and make sure that you have given a very good contribution to that domain. And that is the ideal case. And the practical benefits that you get once you do research is that you will get very good funding, definitely, because if you want to continue research, we need to get money, we need financial support from various agencies. So to get the funding, to get promoted in your organization, if you want to go to the higher levels in the ladder, then definitely you need good publication to your credit. Then to get a good job, if you're looking for a job, then definitely many universities are looking at how much contributions you have made. And me and Dr. Santosh, we used to go as experts in various interviews. And even though they have got the doctorate degree, most of the time they are not able to present their research outputs well when they ask questions, because especially most of the teachers, they ask the basic questions and they are not able to answer it. And even some of the basic aspects of the research work they have done, they are not able to present it well. And what happens, they will not be ranked and they will not get a job. To get a job also, it is very important that you write quality research papers. And to keep your job, that particular point may not be applicable in government institutions here in India, but in foreign universities, it's very important that most of the teachers should be very productive. Otherwise, they will not be able to continue in that post, because we have to be very productive if you want to keep the job, right? And let me tell you that unless you come up with a novel idea and publish it only, then you will be rated by the research community. So the scientists are always rated by what they finish and not by what they attempt. You can always say that I'm doing research and all, but finally you have to write it in the form of an article and present it in the domain, either in the conference or in the journals or in the form of a patent. And only after that, you will be rated by the research and academic community, right? And one major challenge that you may face in publishing a paper is that, because before going into the tips of writing an article, you should understand this. The competition for the space in journals is very intense. I think my colleague will be agree to that, because earlier days, the number of submissions were very less. But if you look at the IEEE journals and other Elsevier or Springer or any kind of journals, the number of submissions have been increased. Even I remember in one journal that is known as IEEE Signal Processing Letters, you know what happens when you submit an article now, they have a committee to look at whether this article is worth review. That means at the beginning level itself, it will be rejected, because such huge submissions are coming. So they don't want to waste the valuable time of the associate editors and the reviewers. So at the initial level itself, they will reject. Today morning also we were discussing about that, the desk reject and all, right? So immediately they will reject the manuscript, because they have a committee for that, and they will look into the contents, and if the contents are not worth review. So they are not looking at the novelty of the part. That is the second part. The initial level itself, they're looking at whether this manuscript is worth review, and only after that it will be sent for the review. And during the time of review, the other aspects will be considered. So that is very much. I mean, the competition for the space in journals is very intense. So you have to understand that unless you write the article well, it's very difficult for that article even to be sent for the review. So that's very important. And rejection rates vary, because top journals, the rejection rates will be very high. So we cannot say that, but in certain journals, the rejection rates will be less. Certain top journals, the rejection rates will be very high. Or in other words, we can say the acceptance rate. The acceptance rate will be very less in most of the top journals, and even in conferences. In certain conferences, even to get an article published in a conference proceedings is much tough than in a journal. Because if you look at the Google metrics, there you can see that, I think Dr. Santosh may be knowing that, if you look at Google metrics, there you can see that the top rated journals, not journal, the top rated proceedings, if you look at, including the journals together, it is IEEE CVPR, the Computer Vision and Pattern Recognition. It's an international conference, and that is given as the highest rating than the many IEEE transactions. So you can see how much tough it is to even to get an article be published in a top conferences. So that is important thing. And as I said, these are the major reasons for most cases, the rejections. The confirmatory, that means if the work is not novel, to poor experimental design, that means you may not have properly tested the hypothesis. We'll come to that when we come to the results and discussion section, we'll come to that. Poor experimental design, because even though if you feel that, okay, your work is very good and all, it is very much required that it has to be properly tested, and all the analysis has to be included in the manuscript in order to prove that your method is superior to all the other methods, or your method has outperformed all the other existing methods. That's what I said at the beginning. Ideally, the research means developing a new systems which can improve the existing system. So it is your responsibility to prove that quantitatively or through experimental analysis that your methodology is much, much better than the existing systems. And we can use any of the valid quantitative analysis techniques for that. So and that has to be included. And inappropriate for the journal, because sometimes you may communicate your manuscript to a journal, which I mean the topic may not be coming under the scope of that journal, so immediately it will be rejected and you will waste your time. So you have to appropriately select the journal, and that's what in the morning I remember Dr. Preeti has mentioned, right, about literature review, if I'm not mistaken. The literature review is very important as far as the research is concerned, and that if you do it properly, then there is no confusion at all to select an appropriate journal, because from the top journals, if you're referring, you know where this article has to be communicated is crystal clear, and you can very easily communicate that. So this point, this kind of problem you'll never face. And definitely poorly written articles, that we are going to see how we can improve that. So these are the some of the tips that you should understand. One is you have to know the journal and its editors and why you submit the paper there. That means before writing the article itself, you should select the journal. It's not like after writing the manuscript, you communicate it to a journal. No, it's not like that. You should always select the journal first. Okay, see, I'm going to communicate to this particular journal, the top journal in the field. And each journal has got its own culture, its own style. So you should know the journal and who are the editors in that journal and how we have to draft the manuscript. That should be very clear. So before writing the manuscript itself, you might have selected the appropriate journal in your mind, and based on that you have to write the article. That is the one important tip that I would like to put forward. We also do that because before writing the manuscript itself, we will first decide this is the journal that we want to communicate, and pay close attention to spelling, grammar, and punctuation, because 2 days before we had NAC mock team. We said even they were looking, because when we were presenting, we teachers are presenting the departmental activities, they were looking at the spelling and grammar and also, you know how much importance they're giving to these aspects. So it's very clear that if you communicate a manuscript, that's very important. The spelling, grammar, you may feel that these are all small things, but small things matters because as an associate editor, because I had around 4 or 5 years of experience as an associate editor, so we know that if there is if the manuscript has been written without proper checking of spelling and proper checking of grammar and all, definitely we will immediately reject that one. Even though the novelty of the paper is good, you may face the rejection because of this. So you have to pay very close attention to the spelling, grammar, and punctuation aspects, and make sure that the references that you put, it's not like you can simply put a lot of references in the end. You should, when I say that the references should be comprehensive and accurate, it means that that's what I said that Madam has mentioned. When you do the literature review, it should be comprehensive, and all the standard or the state-of-the-art methods that have been reported in the literature has to be brought into this analysis. That is very important, and this is also one reason for the rejection. Even though the novelty is good, or even though you might have proposed a new method or new methodology for solving that particular problem, it may be rejected because of the poor experimental analysis. So the references are comprehensive means, and accurate means all the latest articles or the state-of-the-art techniques has to be brought into the experimental analysis section, and you have to prove that your method is good and avoid careless mistakes. Then conform to instruction for others. Before writing the manuscript, you should always look at the instructions given in the journal's website. There is a document that you can download that is known as instructions for others document. It's a PDF document. You can download it, or you can read it online also. And make sure that you have read all the instructions given there, and based on that only you have to draft the manuscript. That's what I said at the first point. You should know the journal first, and then read and conform to the instruction for others of the journal, and then you start writing the manuscript. Okay. And you know, some of the deadly sins, if you look at, you know, one is you know, the data manipulation and falsification, because recently in the Science Chronicle an article came which says that during the 1819 period, you know, most of the retracted papers was based on the data manipulation or image manipulation. So this is one important aspect that you should consider whenever you write the manuscript. The data that you give, or that the data that you tabulate, has to be accurate. You should never do this data manipulation or falsification, because many papers which has been accepted and later retracted was due to this data manipulation. It's a very shocking statistics that has been presented in the Science Chronicle. So we should understand that there are people who are behind this particular manuscript. Experts read this article, and if they find such kind of data manipulation, they will immediately report to the editorial board, and you may face a retraction notice. And the problem with the retraction notice is that it's not like other type of rejections, desk rejection, or after review, if a paper gets rejected, it's fine. We can take it in a positive sense. But if it is a retraction, it will be there forever in the journal website. So that will create a bad impression on your the quality of the work that you have done, and even the authors, whatever concepts that you share or try to share in the domain, the people may not believe it because you have this particular track record. So you will be blacklisted there, and people will not rely on the data that you are presenting. So you have to be very careful. This is one important aspect for the rejection. And this happens, you may feel that how it happens, and that's the reason why these statistics have been reported in the Science Chronicle. And avoid duplicating the manuscripts. Even if your own manuscript has been submitted somewhere, don't try to duplicate it and send it to some other journals. Don't do that. And avoid redundant publication, and avoid the plagiarism also. Please avoid these aspects, right? Now, redundant publication, I'm not going to that because you know about this. If some data that you have already represented in the conference abstract, that is not considered as a redundant publication, but the same data that in a different journal, that is always considered as a redundant publication. And some teachers are facing some problems because of sharing the same data in different manuscripts. And many teachers are facing these problems because later the editorial office will ask for the explanation regarding that and why you have used the same data in other manuscript also. So you have to be very careful. And data on the website, that depends whether it is a technical report or whether it is an authentic report, and all based on that, if the same data has been used, it may be considered as a redundant publication. And data included in the review article also, you have to be very careful. You have to get the proper permission from the concerned authorities before copying the same content. And expansion of the published data set, definitely it is considered as a redundant publication. So you have to avoid such kind of redundant content being presented in the same manuscript. And what makes a good research paper is good science, good methodology should be there, and good writing, and finally it should be published in good journals. That forms a good research paper. So when I say it's a good research paper, means it should have novelty, it should have good presentation style, and it should have a very comprehensive experimental analysis, and finally it got published in a good journal. Then we say that it's a good research paper. Now, if I say good methodology means, as I told earlier, you should have an entirely new concept has been, new concept in the sense you should have made significant improvement in the existing methodology. So that's the reason why whenever we review the manuscript, there is a question that whether the novelty is good or not, whether the novelty has been very precisely being presented in the manuscript. Such questions the reviewer has to answer as part of the review process. So most of the time, if the novelty is not up to the mark, they will write negative comments for that, and finally it will get rejected. So make sure that it is novel, and all the fundamental process involved in that particular methodology has to be properly presented in the manuscript, including the hypothesis that you have stated at the beginning and how you have tested that by using the standard evaluation protocols. And each and every aspect related to the work has to be described precisely. And you can see in the bracket I mentioned theoretical as well as the practical. There comes the important part, because I want to give a few tips regarding this. Many people do a mistake like this. Once they come up with a new methodology, they will be in a hurry to write the manuscript, and finally what happens, the theoretical aspect they will miss, and most of the time they will be talking about the practical aspects and the experimental analysis. So that part may be good, but the theoretical aspect has also got equal importance. So they will not spend time on properly representing the concepts in a mathematical form. When I say mathematical, means most of the time the models or the methodology will be represented by using mathematical representations. So most of the research scholars, they don't spend time for writing the mathematical representation of their methodology, because those mathematical representations cannot be copied from anywhere, because it's your method. You have developed that methodology. So it is you who have to properly represent that mathematical representations for your methodology. So that is very important. So many journals, if you look at the top journals, they give equal importance to the theoretical aspect as well as the practical aspect. So make sure that all the important theoretical background and theoretical aspects of the proposed methodology has been well explained in the manuscript. Otherwise, it may get rejected. And a good journal, as I told you, that depends on one aspect is the impact factor. That maybe in the next session you may be able to understand what is meant by an impact factor. That shows the quality of a journal. It's a quantitative measure or a metric that defines how much that quality the journal has. And it is being released as part of the journal citation report of the Clarivate Analytics every year. So you can discuss that in the next during the next session. And another one is the immediacy index, because whether these journals papers which are published recently has getting more citations. So if it is a good journal, definitely the recent papers will start getting citations immediately. So that is known as the immediacy index. And in addition to this, these two aspects are also very important, because even when one professor from USA came as part of the Chancellor's Chair program here, Dr. Garvesh, he was also at that time, he was also the editor-in-chief of the top journal in the field of image processing, IEEE transactions on image processing. So he clearly stated that we are not looking at the impact factor or any such quality aspects. We are looking at the reputation of the journal. So that is very important, because in certain domains, there will be a set of journals which are contributing a lot of classic works, right? But if you look at the impact factor, it may be having less impact factor compared to the newly started journals. For a simple example, I can tell you one journal which was started very few years back, that is known as the Journal of King Saud University, Computer and Information Science. And you know, if you look at the impact factor, that journal has got an impact factor of 13.7 or something. And if you look at the IEEE transactions on image processing, it has got only 10 points as the impact factors. How you can say that this Journal of King Saud University is better than IEEE transactions? Because I know that getting a paper published in IEEE transactions on image processing is much tough than getting a paper published in Journal of King Saud University. We know that. But if you look at the impact factor, we may feel that that journal is much better than these IEEE transactions. But it's not like that. Because if you look at the reputation of the journal, that journal has contributed a lot to the domain, and most of the classic works have been reported in that journal. So you should also look at the reputation of the journal and not at the impact factor and the immediacy index. In the morning inaugural speech, I heard that Dr. Preeti was mentioning that H index is not the only thing that you can use to assess the productivity of a researcher. Even if the number of papers that you have published is very less, if it is a quality paper, then definitely will get the recognition in the community. Even though if the H index is less, if you have published few papers which are classic papers, then definitely will get the recognition of that. There is no doubt about that. And the last one is the reputation of the publisher, because sometimes the publisher might be starting a new journal. For example, IEEE has started a new journal, not IEEE transactions on big data or IEEE transactions on artificial intelligence. They are all new journals started by IEEE, but we know the reputation of that publisher, because as these journals will definitely get a very high impact factor soon. So that reputation of the publisher is also very important for selecting a journal, right? So based on this, you have to select the journal before writing the manuscript. And now we are going to the writing part. Now, if you look at those who have the most to say, usually say it with the fewest words, right? I hope all of you agree that. Even in the research paper writing also, we have to do this, because we have a lot of things to say to the community. We have a lot of data to be shared with them. We have a lot of concepts that we want to share with them, but we cannot do that because there is a limit for the number of pages for the top journals. So we have to say that all in a compact form. So that is also a skill that we should learn, how we can, in a compact form, we need. So for that, the language is very important. You should have a very good control over the language, and you should be able to say with fewest words, and you should be able to convey all the aspects that you want to convey. So that is very important, right? Now, suppose you want to write a research paper. We are coming to the writing part, which is the most of the time the students come and ask when we should start writing the paper, whether we should start writing the paper after completing the entire work and analysis, or whether we can start before that. So some of the tips I can tell you that when to start writing a paper. Suppose you got some breakthrough, that means if you are getting a results, a significant advancements you have been made as part of the experimental analysis, then definitely you can start writing the manuscript, because this is something which we need to revise and all, because it's not like in a single step we can complete the writing of the manuscript. We will not be able to do that. We need to revise it several times. Several rounds of revisions are required. So once you have made a breakthrough, if your methodology has shown positive results, you can start writing the manuscript slowly. The methodology and the order in which we can write, we'll come to that later. But once you have made a significant advancement, that is the right time to write the paper. And these questions you can answer, whether the hypothesis has been formulated, has been in a straightforward way, and did the experiments test the hypothesis. And if you can answer this question, can you describe the study in 1 or 2 minutes, or maybe can the key message be written in 1 or 2 sentences? If you can do that, then definitely you are in a position to write the paper. That means if somebody come and ask you whether you have made a significant contribution in this domain, in this work, you should be able to explain that in 1 or 2 minutes, or you should be able to explain that by using 1 or 2 sentences with clarity. Then it means that you are in a position to write the manuscript. These questions you should ask yourself and then take a decision, right? Nobody is going to come and ask you about this, because you are doing the research. Definitely these questions has to be asked yourself and see. And if you have a very specific answer for this, then definitely you can start writing the paper. Or even you can explain that to your guide, the research guide, and the research guide may give a proper guidance on that. If he is convinced, if he or she is convinced, you can start writing the paper. Now, if you like the tables and figures, see, before starting the manuscript itself, you should have an idea about what kind of figures that you want to project, what kind of tabulated data that you are going to present. So you can just note this tip, that when you do the research, whatever analysis that you do, many times I've seen that many research scholars, as part of the analysis, they will run the program several times, and after that they will delete all these data, and finally they will take only the final results. But these intermediate results are very important, because many times the question comes like this: how you arrived at this result? So you should show the path right from the beginning to the end. So many times you have to show these experimental, the intermediate results in the experimental analysis section. So at that time, you know what happens? Many research scholars will repeat this process, because they will again rerun the entire program, and they will spend a lot of time to take these intermediate results. So one thing that you can do is when you test the methodology, whatever experimental analysis that you perform, or whatever intermediate results that you get, please note down that, so that you can use it for your paper writing, right? So the tables and figures, what kind of tables you want to project, what kind of figures that you want to, they should have that. That kind of planning is very important. So you should have an idea about what are the major tabulated data that you want to present, what are the major figures that you want to show. That must be clear and concise. And it should be self-explanatory also. That means if you look at the figure, you should give the complete, convey the complete meaning about that methodology. So when you draw the block diagram, or when you draw the flow chart, or when you draw the system diagram, whatever be the methodology, the kind of type of figure that you use, it should be self-explanatory. That is very important. And read the references so that that will help you in choosing the journal that I already mentioned, right? And you would, sometimes journal also asks for the possible reviewers, that also you can give based on this references that you have cited. And choosing the journal I have already mentioned. Now you should also have a tentative title and summary be ready, so that which we can use it for as a initial title, and later we can revise it after writing the manuscript. Again, from the beginning we'll do this, so we can change the title and also choose the authors. Who are the authors who are contributing to this particular work, you can choose the authors also. Their names can also be included in the manuscript. Now coming to the writing the manuscript, the most important problem that we face is how to get started, because writing is very tough to most of the scholars. I also agree that, because whatever things that you have developed as part of your research work, that has to be properly communicated, to the research community. So we have to convey all this information to the community, or the research community, in a nutshell. So it should be very compact. That's what I said, with fewest words you have to explain every aspect of this work. So that's very difficult. So the hardest part is getting started. Now if you look at any manuscript, This is only a general style. You are always free to add any additional sections to this. But here I am just showing the general sections that every manuscript will have. But you can change it because depending on the journal style and all, there may be changes in the title. But otherwise, these are the important sections. One is the main title of the manuscript. Next is the abstract, which is very important section. Because you know why we say that abstract is very important, because many research scholars will decide whether this manuscript has to be downloaded or not based on reading the abstract. That's the reason why we always say is that the title and the abstract are the two important aspects of your manuscript which are visible to all the people in the world. They can read it, they can read the abstract free of cost, and they can see the title also. So these two, as with the title as well as the abstract, they are very important. You have to revise it a lot, and then only you should finally publish it, because otherwise, the people may not select your manuscript if the abstract is not clearly conveying your contribution. So the abstract should clearly convey the kind of methodology that you have used and what kind of results that you got. That has to be properly communicated in the abstract section. So you may take enough time to write the abstract. So that will be very useful for you. Next is the introduction, IMRAD format. We call it as IMRAD format. So introduction, methods, results, and discussion section. Then finally, you can give some acknowledgements to some the people who have really helped to develop this methodology. And finally, the bibliography or the references you can give. And the next is how to write, in which order you have to write these sections. I think first thing is that you should have a tentative title that will give you an idea about what kind of contributions you have made. So there is no problem in having a tentative title which we can revise later. So you should, that's what I told previously. That means if somebody asks you what kind of contribution you have made, you should be able to explain that in 1 or 2 sentences, or you should be able to explain that in 1 or 2 minutes. The same way, if you want to say somebody asks you what kind of contributions you have done, you should be able to write it in the form of a title. But the style of the title, I mean, the language and the kind of words that we need to use, the kind of vocabulary that you use, that we can change later. But when somebody asks you what kind of contribution you have made, that should be very clearly reflected from the title. So the first thing that you can do is write the title, right? And then the most, the part where you can very confidently write the aspects, that is the methodology aspect, because that is the area where you have done a lot of works for the last several months. So the methodology part, if you can write it well, that will give you the confidence to write the other sections, because most of the aspects that you write in other sections is actually very much related to the methodology section, because some observations that you get as part of this methodology being implemented, that has to be shared in other sections also. So it's better you write the methodology part first in a better way. You write it, so that will give you a high confidence, or it will boost your confidence level to write the other section. So because we know that this is the most important section of a manuscript, and that you are going to write first. So you write that one, right? So you start writing the methodology aspect first. And then, the next important section that you are very much confident of is the results section. You already have taken all the final results as well as the intermediate results. You put that in the results section and write about all those figures, tables, and all. And then you complete the results section, and then you can write the discussion and introduction together. Why we say that this can be written parallelly? Because most of the discussions that you write in the results as part of the results analysis, that need to be written in the introduction. Why? Because in the introduction section, what we do is we will be writing all the contributions in a chronological order made by the other authors, or all the works that have already been reported in the literature. And after that, we're coming to a method. So you should give some kind of discussions, some kind of introduction to your method has to be given there. And in order to write that section, these discussions that you have written will help you, because these aspects can be brought into the introduction section, and you can say that, okay, we could achieve this with high accuracy and all, and some quantitative values can also be given there, which will create more interest in the reader to read the other sections, because after reading the introduction, they will be very much excited, and they will be very much interested in reading the methodology and other aspects. So it's always better to write the introduction and the discussion section together, so that you will not miss any important points that has to be included in the introduction section, which highlights the important aspects of your methodology. And after that, you can write the abstract, because in abstract all the aspects including the methodology, the results, discussion, everything should come in abstract. So you write it at the end only, and that has to be written with maximum 8 or 10 sentences within that, because there is a limit for that in abstract. Certain journals, they even specify the number of words that you can use in the abstract section, so we have to be very careful. And certain journals, abstract itself consists of 3 or 4 sections, so that depends on the journal style. So that abstract you need to write at the end, so that that will convey the complete information about your manuscript. And after that you can write the acknowledgements, and references is something which we always add whenever you write the methodology, results, introduction. Every time you should also add the references accordingly, so that finally the reference list will be ready for your manuscript. And coming to the methods and materials section. The best thing that you can do is when the experiments are still in progress, because you already got the breakthrough, you understood that you are going to get, you already got the positive results. So that is the right time, as I told earlier, to write the manuscript. So you start writing the methodology aspects, and during that time also you will be doing the practical analysis also, the experimental analysis also, and it should be detailed enough so that these results can be reproduced by the others. Many times I've seen that when you write the method and materials part, you will not detail the steps. So when somebody comes and download your manuscript, they will say that, okay, they are not getting the results that you have mentioned. I think Dr. Santosh might be knowing that, especially those who are working in the industry, they used to come and tell these kinds of complaints, because they will say that, okay, we have downloaded a manuscript which talks about this particular problem, and we tried our best and we are not getting the results that the others are mentioning. They are not able to repeat the results. One problem is that it may not be that much novel, and some kind of data manipulation might have happened there. That is the worst case. And the other case is that they might not have presented the methodology well. The results are all very genuine, but they are not able to repeat that results because the methods are not detailed enough. So it is your responsibility that when you write the methodology part, it has to be explained. Each and every aspect of the methodology has to be well explained, and that too, please explain that by using mathematical notations. Because instead of writing 2 paragraphs or 3 paragraphs about that step, if you write a single mathematical step, that will give you very clear, or that will convey the clear message to the readers. So you know that even though if you write the concept in 3 paragraphs, many people will be understanding it in different sense. That it will not convey the correct message. But if the same thing, if you represent it by using mathematical notation, then they can very easily repeat that results, because they can very easily implement that, and they can check the results. So that is a very important aspect. Many research scholars miss this aspect, and that's the reason why they are facing the rejection when they communicate to the top journals. So whenever you write the methodology part, the strategy that you have to apply is that whatever, even if it is a very small step, try to write it in a mathematical form, and make sure that when you trace that steps right from the beginning to the end, you are getting the correct message or correct meaning of the methodology, and make sure that you will get the results that you have shown in the results section. And another strategy that you can use is, because I used to follow that particular tip, because one of my mentors have suggested that whenever you write articles, if possible, if the space is there, please do include the pseudocode also, because you are all working, some kind of computational aspects might be there in your work. So whatever steps that you have done, if possible, you try to include, write a pseudocode or the step-by-step explanation about your methodology in a compact form. So you can write that as a separate section. So that will be very good. So after reading all these major steps of the methodology, when they come to this, the pseudocode or this algorithmic section, they will be able to understand the steps to be followed, the order in which each step has to be done. That will be very clear. So that will be a very good strategy that you can use. And in my case, it's working fine, because many reviewers are appreciating that one. And that will help you to convey your ideas in a very precise form, and it may lead to the acceptance. So that is one tip that I would like to mention. And even the notations, that is very important. When you write mathematical form, the same notation should not be used for 2 purposes. Many times it happens, because some equations you might have copied from another manuscript, and some equations you might have written yourself. So what happens, in the equation which you have copied, there may be a letter, maybe X, to represent some value. And the equations that you have written yourself, you might have again used some X or Y variable, which have already been used to represent some other. So that consistency will be lost. So this is one aspect that many reviewers look at, whether right from the beginning to the end, the variables that you've used are very consistent, and each and every variable that you've used or to represent certain aspect has to be well explained. Don't skip that. If you have used a letter X to represent something, you have to explain that, okay, this X represents this. Like that, every variable or equations, if you look at, that has to be well and precisely explained in your manuscript. And even, okay, that I will tell when we come to the result section. So this is very important in the methodology aspect. And even if you want to give some kind of a prerequisite, if there is any prerequisite is required for understanding the methodology, that you can include a separate section, right? That means if you want, if the readers need to read some important concepts before reading the methodology, that can be included as a separate section. I've seen that also in certain top journals. Some of the basic mathematical terminologies they will explain there, certain important theorems and proofs they will explain there, because only after understanding that they will be able to understand the methodology that has been proposed. So you can include that as a separate section. And even if you have any proofs or theorems or lemma or corollary or anything to be presented, please don't put it in the methodology section. So it will be very much congested. So it's better you include all the proofs and everything in the appendix section. So some journals provide you that facility. You can add appendix at the end, where all the proofs, theorems, and everything can be included. So that will be a good approach. We are using that particular method for representing such kind of theorems and all. And refer the published methods wherever appropriate. Don't miss citing the references. Whenever you refer a particular topic, make sure that its citation has been properly given. So that if you are not doing that, then definitely the reviewers will point out that. So whatever methods, published methods that you are referring, please make sure that you have referred it properly. And if possible, you try to give some descriptive subheadings. It doesn't mean that you can make it very, very short. No. Subheadings can be given a little bit descriptive, so that it will give an idea about what kind of content that will be discussed under that section. So that will give you the quality of the manuscript will be higher if you follow these kinds of tips, right? And if you come to the result section, very important. Briefly, you explain the kind of protocols that you're going to use to evaluate the performance of your system. You might be using different statistical data for statistical analysis for proving the quality of your system. So if it is in a science research or social science research and all, many times you want to apply certain analysis on the data. So what kind of data that you are using, what are the challenges involved in this data, and what kind of results that you want to get, everything can be explained by giving a section known as data set. Or one more section you can give is experimental setup. Like that also you can give. So what kind of computing system that you are using, what kind of softwares you are using, what kind of architecture that you are establishing for running this particular system, what kind of public data set that you are going to use, what are the challenges involved in this, everything can be put under the experimental setup section. Another section that you can add here is the quantitative analysis metrics. Because many times, you will be using certain metrics to evaluate the performance of your method, quantitative analysis of your method. So what kind of metrics or measurements that you are going to use, that can be briefly explained in the next section. Before jumping into the results section, results of that you have obtained, you can add these sub sections. One is experimental setup section, and the other is the quantitative analysis metrics section, which explains how we are going to analyze quantitatively the proposed method by using the various metrics. So those metrics can be briefly introduced in that section. And in the results section, some of the important things that you should remember is that you will always be putting figures and tabulated data in the result section. It must be very straightforward. Whatever result that you have got, you please project that. Right? Don't try to change the values and all. Whatever things that you got, you project it and try to prove that, okay, these results are convincing results. You have to make a feel to the reviewers that, okay, these data that you got are very much convincing and very genuine. So you should be very much straightforward. Otherwise, you know, if you try to manipulate the data, the experts can very easily understand that. That's what happens. That's what I told earlier. You know, the Science Chronicle, they have projected the cases, how many retraction cases have been reported based on this data manipulation. So don't do that. Whatever results that you've got, you genuinely report that. And what are the significant observations that you made as part of this data that you got as the results that you can share, and how you are going to say that this proposed method is superior to the other methods. It may not be based on a single quantitative metric sometimes, because one quantitative metric may be a little bit lesser value compared to the other method, but other quantitative metrics will be getting higher value. So you have to take a combination of this. So you should say that based on the table, the tabulated data, you have to make sure that this kind of information has been clearly conveyed to the reviewers. How you are going, why you are saying that our proposed method is excellent or outperform the existing methods based on these quantitative values, that you have to very clearly explain, precisely you have to explain. So these tables and figures that you add must be able to convey this information. That is very important. And just putting the tables and figures in the manuscript is not enough. Whatever figures and tables that you include in the manuscript, make sure that you're referring to these tables and figures and writing certain observations that you got based on this one. That either you can put it in the discussion section, or you can put important observation in that result section itself. So present the main findings, referring to the tables and figures. Many times the research scholars miss this, because yesterday also one of my research scholar brought a document, and there I could see that figure 3.1 was not being referred in the text. So I mentioned that it was not because it accidentally happened, but anyway, people will look at that, whether that figure has been properly mentioned in the text or not. So that is very important. And please do not, this is one important point that I would like to, please do not speculate or over discuss the results. Speculate means you cannot say that, okay, if you do this, you may improve the results. Such words you should never use, may or so always present only the things that you got, and don't over discuss the results. Like, this is one of the best methods that has been reported in the literature, like that, please don't write, right? Because if you over discuss the results, and if you try to project your method is the best one in the world and all, if you do like that, definitely the reviewers will not be happy with it, because you know that no methods are perfect actually. Whatever methods that have been reported in the literature, if you look at all these methods have some problems, and that's why we say that always it has to be improved. So that means that whatever things that you have developed, it may not be perfect. Maybe some problems will be there. So don't always say that this is the best method that has been reported ever in the literature. Such kind of statements please avoid. But you can say that the results based on the quantitative analysis, you can say that the proposed method is giving better results compared to the existing ones. Very politely you can say what kind of results that you got and how it outperformed the existing method. So please do not over discuss or speculate the results. And coming to the introduction section, there is an order in which we have to write introduction. That is very important. For the first two paragraphs, you can give a brief background about the problem. What are the challenges of that problem, what are the applications of that problem, and such small discussion about the problem background can be given in the initial paragraphs. And after that, you can say what is the motivation behind this particular topic being taken, because what are the current challenges that is involved in this method, and how far these challenges can be taken care of by the existing methods, so that you can clearly mention that. After that, you simply write in chronological order the classic works that have been reported in the literature, which tries to solve this particular problem. One by one you can say. So first you give only the positive aspects, and after that you can tell what kind of problem that method is faced, the negative aspect of that in a very polite form. Don't think that this method is very bad in solving. Like such statements please avoid. Always say that this method has improved a lot, and this method could achieve this. And after that, after writing one or two positive aspects of that method, you can write the negative aspect of that. But this method will fail in this particular scenario because of this reason. Very specifically with facts and figures you can write it. And then after pinpointing all the necessary, all the important methods that have been reported in the literature, finally you can come to the proposed method, how you're dealing with that one. So there comes the main hypothesis of the central question has to be discussed. And after that, you can say what kind of methodology, a brief introduction about the kind of methodology that you use to overcome these challenges, and also give a few sentences about the summary of the findings that you have already made. That will give you a very clear idea about what kind of methodology that is going to be discussed in this manuscript. So that introduction section will look very good. And as I told earlier, the language is very, very, very important, whether it is a methodology section or whether it is an introduction or abstract. The language is very important, but if you're not good in that, either you have to improve it or you have to get the help from others. Otherwise, there is no way to solve it, because if the language is not good, whatever things that you try to convey, it will not be conveyed properly. Okay. Now coming to the discussion part where we write all the important observations, then that is an important section which gives you the importance of, which conveys the idea that how much important your methodology is and how much it has solved the existing problems, or how much it has solved the challenges that has been faced in that problem domain. So the discussion section is a very important section. First, you can say how you found out the answer for the question that you have posed in the introduction section as part of the central question or the hypothesis, and try to relate to the findings or the conclusion to the existing knowledge. So how much the existing methods could achieve or solve this particular problem, and how your methodology could solve it by clearly writing based on the values that you got in the result section. You refer to those tabulated values, figures and all, and you can say what important conclusions that you got as part of your analysis. And it is, as a research scholar, it is your responsibility to also mention about the problems or the weaknesses or the discrepancies of your method also, because that will give a possibility for the that will convey the information that okay, this method can again improved if these weaknesses or discrepancies has been solved. So the readers will get an idea about how to improve it, and they will also work on this problem. So you should always clearly discuss about the main problems that you could not address, right? Because out of 10 problems or 10 challenges, you might have addressed 5 challenges. The remaining 5 challenges are still there. So what are the problems that you have faced, and how this method failed, why this method fails in these particular cases, and how it can be improved, or maybe some suggestions you can give there. And the novel aspect that you have introduced, this has to be explained, and why this particular methodology led to a good results, that has to be very clearly explained there. Because many times, if you look at the manuscripts, I think you also will agree that many times, the methodology might have got excellent results, the proposed methodology. But when we look at the theoretical aspects and when you look at the discussions, we will not get an idea why this method has got these results. Theoretically also that is not being linked, and practically also they are not explained it well, why this particular method is giving better results. So that is very important thing that reviewer will always look at in your manuscript. So that connection should be there in the manuscript. So after reading your manuscript, you ask somebody else to read it and check whether this relationship has been well established in the manuscript. And if the person who have read the manuscript says that, okay, I was not getting a clear idea about what kind of relation is there between these results and the proposed methodology, that is not precisely explained, you have to revise the manuscript. That is very important. And please do not repeat the same results again and again, because I've seen many people tabulating the data first, and the same tabulated data they will also present it in the form of a figure. Same data, it's not going to convey any kind of new information. But many people feel that, okay, if we add the same tabulated data in the form of another figure, finally the manuscript will be very colorful, It will consist of a lot of figures and tables. The same data is again repeated in the form of figure, in the form of table. Please don't do that. Either you represent the data in the tabulated form or represent in the form of a figure. And if both these are conveying the same information, you just need to put only one, either the tabulated data or the figure. Don't repeat the results. And the conclusions, the summary, the perspectives, the implications, that has to be well discussed in the discussion section, because that is actually a section where you are writing the whatever experiences that you got as part of this research work, that you are sharing there in this section. So every aspect under the discussion section will be written by your own. Here we cannot refer any kind of documents or any existing methods, because all these observations are based on your methodology only. So this section will be written by yourself only, because even a single word you cannot copy from anywhere. So make sure that all these observations, and that's what I said, when you were doing the practical experiments, that time itself, whatever observations and intermediate results that you get or observations that you get, please note down in the diary, so that you can write those points when you write the manuscript. Because one of my students are doing that, and that's the reason why when we are writing the manuscript, we could link all these aspects there. Because during the discussion, he will say, sir, that experimental analysis I've done 2 months before, and I've written some observations, and he will read the observations. So those observations we can very easily map to the discussion section. So that is very important. Even if it is a small analysis that you do, whatever information that you get, you write it in a diary, so that you can include that in the discussion section. So these small steps will definitely help you to write, or these tips will help you to write a very good manuscript. And finally, when you come to the references, it should be very relevant and recent. Please don't add any kind of substandard journals or websites into the reference list. Only the standard journals and the standard technical reports released by the major R&D organizations can be included in the reference list, or major websites, authentic websites you can include in the reference. So whenever you refer the websites, make sure that you add the date also there, right? And be highly selective, because when you select a particular manuscript for the comparative analysis in the section, you have to be very careful. You should never miss standard or classic method that has been quoted in the literature. If you miss that, definitely during the time of review, they will suggest that, okay, these methods we have not compared, and we want these methods to be compared in the revised manuscript. So that will again take your valuable time. So please be very selective. And also we say that it should be comprehensive. When I say comprehensive, means all the related references should be there in the manuscript. We should not miss a single one. And please don't put the references without reading that. Whatever references that you are including in the manuscript, make sure that you have referred it. Actually, you have read that manuscript, right? Because sometimes I've seen many people putting a wrong reference in the text. And even during the time of review, the reviewer will say that, okay, this reference will never give this kind of information. It is actually some other references. So you will be forced to. So please don't do that. Read the references, and based on that only you cite it in the text. And use the correct style for the journal, right? And finally, the abstract, the critical part of the paper that I've already mentioned. This is the content that will be seen by many people. Because before downloading your manuscript, they will read the abstract. Even I think Dr. Santosh may be knowing that, and some of you also may be knowing that. Even in chemistry and all, I think there is a famous American chemical abstracts, right? ACS. They are actually publishing that chemical abstracts, because all the people who are doing research in chemistry, they will be asked to go through the abstract first, chemical abstracts. And that will give them an idea about the kind of work that is happening, the kind of research that is happening in the cutting edge research that is happening in the field. So this is very important. This abstract should give a very clear idea about the problem, the kind of methodology that you have used, the kind of results that you got. So all the important aspects of that methodology as well as the results has to be summarized and presented in the abstract. So even though it is only 8 or 10 sentences, we should be able to get very clear idea about that. Because everywhere, because nowadays we can see that many of these articles are being shared in the social media also, because many of the publishers are using the social media to disseminate this information to the public. So there also many people will be reading the abstract only. So only after reading the abstract, they will have, that will generate an interest in their mind to read this manuscript, and then only they will download it and will get a good citation. Otherwise, they will never refer this manuscript. So all the major conclusions, the significance of the work, the important results that you got, that has to be presented in the abstract. And avoid the acronyms as far as possible, unless if it is a very standard acronym. Otherwise, you can give the full form of that. And rewrite this abstract many times. Okay, so that's that process should be there. And finally, the title. Even though we started with the title at the beginning, you have to again revisit the title, because after writing all this, you have to see whether the title need to be changed, so that more important words need to be added to the title that will convey the correct message. And title also, we cannot make it very long, because there are certain journals, they will limit that. Certain journals don't have any limit, but avoid very long title. And probably you can avoid abbreviations if possible. But if you use abbreviations, make sure that it should also give the acronym. Otherwise, if it is a very standard acronym, right? And the mantra is this: always revise, revise, and revise. And before writing the manuscript, it's better you always get an opinion from the expert, and make the experienced others to be a part of that writing process. That will definitely help you to improve the writing skill. Because I still remember when I wrote the first article. Now, if I read that, I will be ashamed of myself, because how I could write like this, because at the time nobody was there to help me. But after that, I got a very good mentor from DRDO, the Naval Physical Oceanographic Laboratory, one scientist named Dr. Tadavarthi, and I used to visit his quarters in Kakinad, and there I used to sit along with him, and he is the person who really explained how to properly present the results and how to write the methodology and all. He actually suggested a lot of tips, which I've just shared with you. And once I got those tips, I started improving the writing style, and slowly and after that only I got the first publication in a reputed journal published by the Springer. So I was very happy. Then I understood that how much important it is, the writing, the manuscript is, because getting the results, you may get it very quickly because you are fully involved in that, but conveying those things to the public, it's very, very tough. So you have to be very careful while writing the manuscript. And that day, that paper, I think it has gone for 4 or 5 revisions, not reviews, sorry, revisions. 5 round of revisions had happened. And even I remember one of the reviewers finally gave a very stringent statement that if you are not properly doing this revision, your paper will be rejected during the next review process. So we have to be very careful while revising the manuscript. So all the aspects given by the reviewers has to be taken into consideration. And then I understood that the writing is very, very important, and you need to do this process, revise and revise and revise. That process has to be done. Right? And avoid, as I said earlier, avoid typos, spelling mistakes, grammatical mistakes, and always try to polish the writing style. Okay, so one tip that I would like to mention is that don't read substandard journals. You always read the top journals, read the well-written articles, so that will give you an idea about how to present the things. So try to read top articles. That's what that Dr. Prithia has also mentioned. So that will help you to properly draft a good manuscript. So always try to read the standard journals only. I repeat, standard journals only you need to read. Okay. And submissions and all I'm skipping, because that is again another part. So we'll discuss that later. But one aspect I would like to tell you, that whenever you submit the manuscript and get the comments from the reviewers, make sure that you always respond to each and every comment positively. Otherwise, again, it will be rejected. So make sure that each and every comment given by the reviewers after the submitting the manuscript has been taken care of in the revised manuscript. So when you prepare the revised manuscript also, all these aspects will again come into the picture, right? When you do the revision also, you have to again recheck every aspects of the manuscript and see whether everything has been presented well, right? So I think it's already 3 o'clock. So I've taken, I think, 5 minutes more. So if you have any questions that you want to ask, you can ask. So only in a nutshell I could present it, but I know that there are a lot of other aspects to be discussed, but within 1 hour I can only give these many aspects of writing. And why we call it as an art, because it's something which we cannot teach in the form of a science, because this is something that you have to develop yourself. So that's why we say that it's a skill or it's an art, writing an article. So that you have to develop. Based on these tips, you can start writing the manuscript, and I'm sure that you will all become a very good, become an expert in writing the research articles, and you all will come up with some excellent publications. So all the best. Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Madhu. I think within this 1 hour, whatever can be done, I think you have perfectly done. So participants, if you have any quick questions, maybe you can just put it in the chat box. so that the expert can just give answers for that.
So can I stop sharing the screen?
Yes.
I
Yeah.
hope you might have noted the email ID. So if those who want to send any emails, you can use this email ID for. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah. Just as part of the event, we just wanted to take a small snapshot of all of you present here. Just I would like to request you, just if possible, turn on your video so that we can take a photograph and quickly move to the next session. So if there are no questions, let us together thank Dr. Madhu for his valuable time and maybe sharing all the possible tips that will be helping us for writing uh, research articles. I hope all of you can even be in touch with Madhu so that you can further utilize his expertise. So thank you, Dr. Madhu, on behalf of IEEE Event Education Activity Committee. I would like to thank you for your valuable input. Yeah, thank you. So I request all the audience, if possible, turn on your camera so that we can just take a photo. Yeah. Okay, thank you. So we will be moving on to the next speaker, Dr. Surendran Chirokordon. He will be talking on quantitative and qualitative analysis of publishing platforms. So Dr. Surendran Chirokordon is an assistant librarian in School of Engineering, Cochin University of Science and Technology. He is also a good friend of mine, and most oftenly we discuss many things related to academics and the publishing and open source related publishing and softwares are at heart of Dr. Surendran. He is a true librarian, always trying to contribute whatever possible in his own way. And some of you might be knowing him. He has contributed a lot related to publications, and he is very much interested in propagating the idea of how to improve the quality of an institution through real good journal publications. And he is also analyzing an institution's output using Scopus related data or other databases like Web of Science, etc. And he always brings in how the universities or other academic institutions like colleges are performing, and always tries to give this message to the higher authorities so that they can immediately take steps. And he always advised that an institution can improve their performance in terms of publications and maybe real platforms. If researchers are selecting, then definitely you are actually contributing to the institution as well. So that is his thinking. So I'm very happy to invite Mr. Dr. Surendran Chirokordon for his presentation on qualitative and quantitative analysis of publishing platforms.
Okay, thank you, sir.
So over to you.
Okay, sir. Voice okay.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
You are, yeah.
So thank you very much. I am extremely thankful to IEEE Kochi and Dr. Sandur sir and his team for giving me an important board, stage opportunity to address this gathering. And I'm extremely thankful to the scholars for spending their valuable time with us. So I will be just sharing one PPT. So I think, shall I need to?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
uh, uh,
It's
full
okay.
screen.
You can go ahead. Yeah.
Is it full screen now?
No, no.
Okay. So okay now. So okay.
Yes, yes. Yeah, it is.
Okay. This is my topic, and so this is a data from Scopus database. As of now, uh, India has published for Indian universities and colleges or scholars from our institutions have together published around 27 lakhs documents in Scopus indexed journals. This is Scopus data. And as you know, this is the total research output belonging to different subjects field. Can you guess, anybody can guess the first top subject field followed by the other subject fields? Any idea? 1, 2, 3, 4. If you I'm not checking the chat. If you spell, that is better. So okay.
Surendran, you are asking which subject?
No. Yes. Yeah, because that most dominant area of research in
Okay.
India.
Okay. Yeah.
That is 6 lakhs articles were published in a field, and followed by 5 lakhs, followed by 4 lakhs. This way, what would be the area of knowledge or discipline? So chat, I think.
Yeah, you have to give some time.
Agriculture. Okay, agriculture. Okay, agriculture. Then biology, agriculture, biology, social science. Oh, very good. Social science. Okay. Okay, no answer. Then okay. Thank you very much. Thank you for your response. So I will be moving to my next slide. It's moving. Okay. Now I think you can see it's engineering, followed by medicine, followed by computer science. So that's very, very important because third position, computer science at the third position. So this way it goes. So physics and astronomy, material science, chemistry, biochemistry, and social science around 1 lakh articles. So that is compared to engineering, medicine, or computer science, I think very less. And there is a problem with that. So I will mention. So now this is data. Okay, again this is data I have in 2019. This is data because at that time you can see that computer science at 6th position. Okay, now pre-pandemic. So post-pandemic, computer science has moved to third position. So computer professionals or scholars can look into this matter. I don't know, but because I have no inference to give. So there are scholars, so they can just have a look at this data. This is 2019 data. This is 2022 data. Okay. Then these are the major contributors. These are 27 lakhs articles. These are the major contributors. IEEC, followed by IIT Kharagpur, IIT Delhi, IIT Madras, IIT Mumbai, AIIMS, University of Delhi. So first university is University of Delhi having 40,000 articles, and BHU having 32,000 articles, Yadavpur University 32,000 articles, and Anna University around 30,000. So now coming to our universities in Kerala. So CUSAT 8,000, Kerala 5,000, MG University 4,000, Calicut University 3,000, Kerala Agriculture University 1,400, Central University of Kerala, and this is 1,000 and below 1,000. So together, our total universities, excluding those instituted recently, together our universities have produced around 27,000 articles. That is 1% of total research output of India, according to Scopes data. So this is our problem, I think. So we need to improve. We need to improve. That is my idea of this. That is the idea I need to present before you. And you can see that individually, these universities, University of Delhi, BHU, Jadavpur University, Anna University, they have individually produced more than 40,000 articles individually. We are together, collectively, we have produced 32,000, 27,000. So that I think our professors, our higher education level administrators, vice chancellors, registrars, they must address this issue. And this is a data I think I have created in 2019. So when comparing to world-class universities in like MIT, Harvard, California, Stanford, University of Cambridge, Oxford, so we are lagging. No, they are far ahead of us. So now, in order to overcome these situations, so these kinds of lagging behind situation, I think scholars can take prominently 4 approaches to identify quality publications, so quality journals, because as you know, medium is the message. That is said by Marshall McLuhan. So something you present, something you publish in a journal that is indexed by prominent indexing databases, or something that you publish in a predatory journal or a journal that is not having that much standard, there is a difference, huge difference for you and for your institution. That's why, so medium is a message. So by approaching or by identifying journals from prominent publishers, we will be able to identify or reach good quality or quality journals. This is one approach. Then second, by approaching prominent authors, by identifying articles written by prominent authors, and by identifying the platforms in which they have published their articles, we would be able to reach quality journals. Then again, by approaching indexing databases, or by approaching from indexing databases like Scopus database, for example, Scopus indexed journals, and Web of Science indexed journals. So otherwise, by identifying journals having impact factor or journals having site score, these are the 2 metrics given by 2 databases. Impact factor is a metric given by Web of Science, whereas site score is a metric, journal metric by Scopus database. So by identifying this way, or journals having site score as well as impact factor, we will be reaching good journals. Then another approach is Google Scholar metrics approach. That is identifying journals from Google Scholar metrics. Then again, you will be reaching good quality journals. So I have just experimented one. For suppose he's the vice chancellor of Calicut University. Formerly, he was a professor of physics at CUSAT. So first, he has received more citations for this particular article published in Applied Physics Letters. So I just examined this Applied Physics Letters on this is a journal. This is a journal, AIP, Applied Physics Letters. Then I checked this on Scopus database. Yes, it is there. Scopus indexed journal. Then I checked this on Web of Science. Yes, it is there. Then I checked it on this Google Scholar metrics. It is there. And so this way, I think you can identify, or this is a simple method approach. This 4 approach by which you will be able to avoid, at least avoid substandard or predatory kinds of journals. So I will again I will share my screen for some other topics, because now you can see this just a journal. This journal, International Journal of Scientific Research and Review. And this journal, they claim that they are indexed in UGC. They are UGC approved list of journals, and they are indexed in elsewhere mentally. Okay, then University of Arizona campus repository, Crossref, EBSCO-host, Google Scholar, index, and they are claiming they are UGC indexing. So I reached this journal from a YouTube video. A professor from a college was giving a YouTube video on this journal. So he is recommending this journal for publication. And you can also see that scientific journal impact factor 6.1. So normally those who are not familiar with those things, impact factor, side score, indexing, UGC care list, and they will be confused, and they will be sending their valuable, I can say, they will be sending their valuable manuscripts to these platforms, because impact factor, then they can claim that I have published an article in a journal having impact factor. You can see my journal at this dynamic publishing. Okay, then one more thing. Please note that homeless people, orphan, and fatherless people, yeah, in a society, we may care them, or we must care them. We must support them. We must feed them. But in academic field or publishing field, we must not support them, because that is why prominent publishing platform, these are homeless people. Homeless means the sense that they are not coming from a good family. That means a good publisher, and they are not supported by this good family, means a good family of scholars or authors. So this way we can avoid these kinds of journals. And one more, I think I can show you this one, Journal of Shanghai Geotech University. This journal UGC has given on their website clone journal, under clone journal, and I think it clones a Springer journal with a similar title, but except the science within bracket. So this way this is a clone journal, and they also claim that impact factor, this impact factor 6.2 impact factor. And they are also claiming this Springer journal, ISSN, and they claim that they will be publishing your articles. They will be receiving your articles throughout the year, and 24 hours they will accept your article within 24 hours, and they will accept your article 12 issues per year. And moreover, by just by clicking these things, the all manuscripts are pre-reviewed. So this way there are enough points that you can note down for identifying a predatory journal. And moreover, they will be asking you to send your articles to an email address, Gmail email address. And normally you know that the prominent publishing platform, they are using other submission profile pages. Mostly it is based on Scholar One a software by, I think, Thomson Reuters. So this way, otherwise Clarivate, I think now maybe. So this way, never send an article by an email attachment, and they will be publishing this one after getting money from you. And why I am telling this one, scholars and faculty members across the country, they have published journal articles in this journal. And even library and information science people, they are supposed to make aware of these types of journals, and they must educate these scholars and faculty members in identifying journals. They have published articles in these journals, and UGC, even after having giving strict alert by UGC, people are still publishing their articles in these types of journals. So now I will give you a quantitative approach that we need to take. For example, you can see that now UGC has set a boundary of academic publishing in India. And as per UGC care list, now we have 1,500 journals recognized by UGC care. That is, you can search here, UGC Care around 1,500 journals, and science journals. I think you need not check those journals here. Sciences, social science, arts. This way you can identify. And again, for UGC Care List Group 1, that is 1,500. That is, we can say that UGC has a set a boundary of 1,500 journals, mostly Indian journals, for publishing your articles. Then again, that is called UGC Care List Group 1 journals. Then again, UGC Care List Group 2 journals. UGC Care List Group 2 journals are journals indexed by Web of Science as well as Scopus database. So in order to identify what are the journals indexed by Web of Science, you can just click on Arts and Humanities Citation Index or Science Citation Index Expanded or Social Science. Because since you belong to science, then you can click on this one. Then you reach this mjl.clarivate.com. That is a journal search page of Web of Science. This is very important site because those claiming impact factor, those journals claiming impact factor, you can immediately come here and you can just do a search, a title search for if that journal is really indexed by Web of Science platform. Then when you come here, you can see that Web of Science core collection indexes around 24 or 25,000 journals, totally 25,000 journals. So we can say that UGC has UGC or Web of Science indexes around 25,000 journals. But please note that UGC Care has approved only Science Citation Index Expanded journals belonging to, that is 9,000 or 10,000 journals belonging to Science Citation Index Expanded. Then Social Science Citation Index, around the 3,000 journals belonging to Social Science Citation Index, and Arts and Humanities Citation Index, around 1,700 journals belonging to arts. Then together they come around 14,000 journals. 14,000 journals. So these are the UGC approved journals from Web of Science indexing platform. And these emerging source site, whenever we conduct without selecting these things or without checking these three platforms or one platform, we will be getting journals indexed by emerging source citation index. This is actually 7,000 journals are there, and these are currently approved by UGC Care List. But one thing, some of these journals belonging to emerging source citation index will be or may be indexed by Scopus database. In that way, that may be UGC approved. So now we can see that for UGC purpose, UGC has set a boundary of 14,000 journals from Web of Science platform. And you can do a search for subject search. For example, category, here is a category. You can do this computer science or something here. Then you will get journals belonging to computer science. So around I think 44 here you can see 400, more than 400 journals belonging to computer science, and there may be some other options, so you can do that. And please also note that when you want to publish an article in a journal having impact factor, that is very important. Madhu sir has explained in his talk. And you must select a journal from Web of Science indexing platform, a journal indexed by Web of Science. Then because impact factor is a property of Web of Science indexed journals, because it is a methodology or it is a metric invented by Eugene Garfield, and Garfield created a company in 1960s, and he established a company for this one, and he is known as the father of citation indexing. And he sold his company to Thomson Reuters, and Thomson Reuters sold this company to Clarivate. Now, if this Web of Science, everything. So now Web of Science is with the Clarivate, and previously it was with this Thomson Reuters. That is why some UGC documents, some teachers call me and I need the impact factor from Thomson Reuters. Then they ask because of this reason, because many UGC documents still carry the name Thomson Reuters. And Thomson Reuters sold this company to Clarivate. Now it is with Clarivate, and the Web of Science is with Clarivate. So please note that, so scholars, especially young scholars, please note that whenever a journal claiming impact factor, that should be a journal indexed by Web of Science. Don't believe other journals claiming on their homepage impact factor, journal impact factor, something. So impact factor is actually a formula. It cannot be. It is an intellectual property right of Web of Science. Nobody can copy. Nobody can create self. It cannot be created, and it cannot be calculated and published, because it is a property. It is an intellectual property of Web of Science. So please also note that only 20,000 journals in the world have impact factor. 20,000 previously, that is 2021. Before that, around 17 or 12,000 to 17 journals or 15,000 journals were having impact factor. So in order to identify impact factor, you need to, I think, journal citation report. There is an annual publication by Web of Science. You need to check that publication for identifying a journal having impact factor. Moreover, that is I think CUSAT. We don't have access to that now at CUSAT, but you can also identify journals having impact factor by clicking downloads and giving your credentials, email address. They will ask email address, and JCR 2021 you can download. And even though you are unable to identify impact factor, you will be able to identify a particular journal that is having impact factor. And moreover, previous impact factor you can see from here. When you click on view page, you'll be able to identify previous year impact factor that you need to sign in here. So this way, so I think you have an idea about impact factor, and journals having impact factor, 20,000 journals. And impact factor is given by, not created, it is given by Web of Science, and it is actually based on a methodology that is 2-year citations received for a particular journal, 2-year citations divided by 2-year, citations received a year, citation received in a year, a particular year, and articles published during the previous 2 years. So article citation received in the 3rd year, article published, for example, 2017, articles published in 2017, 2018, and citation received in 2019. So this citation, number of citations are divided by number of papers, then we get a value. So normally, when you search a journal or when you visit a journal homepage, they will be displaying this impact factor. So it's an important metric in the world, and still there are other metrics, and as you know, so this is about impact factor. And again, so I think you have a boundary of 1,500 journals, Indian journals, and you have a boundary of 15,000 journals by Web of Science. Now you have another boundary of Scopus Index, because I'm coming from this UGC care list group 2. You can come from here, Scopus source list. When you click on Scopus sources, you will reach Scopus preview page. Actually, Scopus is also, both Web of Science and Scopus are paid indexing databases. We have access to Web of Science at CUSAT, but not to Scopus database. But Scopus preview page is open to all, where you can do author search and source search. And when you click on source, you can see that Scopus indexes around 43,000 documents that include journals, book series, conference proceedings, trade publications. And when you want to limit it to journals, so click check journals and apply. Now you can see the total number of journals indexed by Scopus database, that is 40,000. And here these journals are ranked according to a site score. Site score is another metric equal to or parallel to this impact factor, because as you know, impact factor, nobody can imitate impact factor. That formula nobody can imitate, and that's why this Scopus index journals. And moreover, you know that impact factor is given only for 20,000 journals in the world. So Scopus indexes around 40,000 journals. So what about the rest 20,000? So I think they have their own metrics called site score, and it is also based on 4-year citations and for your publications, for your articles in a particular journals, and for your citations received for throughout this 4 year. So they make a formula like this one, so that you can just visit this page, and they have given this 2017 to 2021, this much articles, this much citations, and this much articles. So this way you can identify. And moreover, you can see this one here. You can see the publishers. You can see those publishers here, and the site score. So more site score. You can also see that more journals having more site score will have impact factor also. That you can just check, and I have identified that. Then again, now you can see that Scopus indexed journals, UGC sets a boundary of 40,000 journals. So together we can say that 1,500 journals by Indian journal, boundary of 1,500 Indian journals, 15,000 Web of Science indexed journals, and 40,000 Scopus indexed journals. So this is the boundary of academic publishing in India. And please also note that many journals indexed by Web of Science are simultaneously indexed by Scopus database. That means that we can reduce or minus around 10,000 journals from Scopus database. So we can say that there are around 40,000 journals for publishing for your academic purpose. This is a quantitative view. This is a quantitative view. So quantitative boundary, we can say 40,000 journals. Then what about quality? So in order to identify quality journals, first you move to this Web of Science, journals having impact factor, because your science scholars belonging to science can select journals from Science Citation Index, and all those journals, 9,000 something journals, are having impact factor. And please also note that many people believe that arts people, scholars belonging to arts and social science, they don't have journals having impact factor. That's wrong. Now you have journals having impact factor in literature, in law, in many sociology, anthropology, any social science field. You have journals having impact factor. And then you come to this Scopus database. And from here, you identify, you can see here, subject search. If you give a subject, for example, computer science, you can also select these subfields. If you are working general computer science, human computer interaction, this way you can also select and click on apply. Now you can see that there are more than 2,000 journals belonging to computer science. And please also note that some journals might have stopped publishing, or Scopus might have stopped indexing some journals. So in order to identify those things, you can just do this one: first quartile, second quartile, third quartile, fourth quartile, and apply. Now I think you will get that real number. This is a real number, 1,600 journals belonging to computer science, and this way you can identify IEEE transactions is there. So for IEEE Communication Magazine, so this way you can identify IEEE transaction cybernetics. So when you identify journals belonging to first quartile, so first quartile, I think these are the top journals belonging to a particular field. So now you can see the site score value, and the total number of citations received over 4 years, and total number of documents published. Then its publisher, you can also see this publisher IEEE. Then moreover, if you want to identify computer science field computer science publisher IEEE, then you can see this is a computer science is already there. Now we can select publisher IEEE, and apply. Now you can see that 77 journals, first quartile 77 journals, that is a computer science. Okay, this is a computer science, 77 journals. So IEEE, all IEEE journals. So you can also check how many IEEE journals are there. So second quartile, third quartile, fourth quartile. So apply journals. There are 93 results, computer science. Maybe a different subject field. If you uncheck this computer science, to delete this computer science, then now you can see 181 maybe journals belonging to other fields. So this way you can identify quality journals. And moreover, I think you can use this one, all these options: publisher-wise option, subject-wise option, or if you know a particular title, if you want to verify a particular title, if it is indexed by Scopus database, so you can do that one. And ISN, okay, this way you can do. For example, publisher, Oxford University, Oxford University Press, journals indexed by Scopus from Oxford University Press, 399 journals. So this way you can identify most of, I think you can identify journals belonging to law, sociology, psychology, literature, etc. So that you just go through these platforms, Scopus Privis, and you can also search authors. You can also search authors, and if you know something, for example, Richard Thaler. I am searching for Richard Thaler. Richard. Search. So now you can see around his H-index metrics overview, 31,000 citations, H-index 53, 100 documents by Richard Thaler. And you will be, since we don't have access to Scopus database, we will be able to access 10 articles by a particular author. But we can identify our works are indexed by, or we have articles, or we have journals indexed by Scopus database. And moreover, Scopus ID is given by them, not created by us. It is an ID given by them when we have a publication in a journal indexed by Scopus database. And please also note that so I think you have given this different approach. Now I have given you this indexing database approach. Now you have an idea about the quantitative approach, quantitative journal quantity you have. But please also note that though all those journals are not having same quality, similar quality. So you can distinguish those journals, or you can identify more important journals by applying site score as well as impact factor, or journals indexed by Scopus database or Science Citation Index platform. That is a platform under Web of Science. Please note that. Don't be confused. Because Social Science Citation Index, Arts and Humanities Citation Index, and the Science Citation Index Expanded are 3 indexing platforms coming under Web of Science indexing platform. So now I move to this Google Scholar, because by identifying journals from Google Scholar metrics, many have a Google Scholar profile. Many might have created a Google Scholar profile. Google Scholar also gives us an important service for identifying important journals and topics. So this menu I am just pulling down. So here you can see metrics, Google Scholar metrics, where Google Scholar lists around top 20 journals belonging to all subject fields. These are the top 100 journals across many fields. So you can also see IEEE journals here. And here again, Google Scholar gives us categories. It's pull down menu. So here you can see engineering, computer science. So I'm clicking on engineering. Again, subcategory. Here you have more the subgroups of journals. And again, this way you can identify important journals, subcategories, engineering and computer science subcategories. Again, for example, a particular civil engineering, computer graphics. So these are the journals belonging to computer graphics. And the Google Scholar metrics applies H-index because, as you know, H5 index, 5-year H-index, that is 95 of these articles articles published in this particular journal, 95 of these articles have been cited at least 95 times. So by clicking here, we are able to identify those 95 articles. And moreover, we are able to identify important journals. And this particular article is having 1,300 citations. And this is a very important service for, I think, identifying topics for article writing, your projects, your webinar topic, or article, or some other topics. You can easily browse this Google Scholar metrics page. And I advise this MTech scholars as well as research scholars, they can just, because we will be able to identify top class scholars as well as top class institutions by coming over here and by identifying articles and by identifying scholars over here. So this is an important service, I think. And I have checked, I have verified that, and I have checked these journals one by one, and I found that all these journals are having impact factor. And all these, because these are 20 journals, top 20 journals in a field, and all these journals have impact factor, and all these journals are indexed by. That means when we say in impact factor, this particular journal is indexed by Web of Science, and all these journals have site score, because it is also simultaneously indexed by Scopus database. So when you select a journal from Google Scholar metrics, you will reach, or you will get, an important journal. So now identifying articles by scholars. So I'm just taking one scholar, Google Scholar. Jennifer Doudna is 2020 Nobel Prize winner in chemistry. So by identifying, or by visiting her profile page, you will be able to identify articles written by Doudna madam, and citations received by her. And moreover, you will be able to identify journals written by madam. So this particular article is written published in a Cell journal. So this way you can identify top class journals. So by following prominent authors, you will be reaching important journals, important publishing platforms, and journals having impact factor as well as site score. So this way, you can also apply. Moreover, you will get when you visit top scholars, you will be getting more ideas, more information, more rich platforms for your academic activities. And one more, I think, Anand Agarwal. Okay, Anand Agarwal. So how do I get Anand Agarwal? Because I just visited MIT. So normally I visit MIT CS Computer Science Department, and where I see many faculty members, and just I try them on these Google Scholar, and I realize what are the important articles they have published, and the platforms they have published. You can see that IEEE Micro. So this way, IEEE transactions on parallel and distributed systems. So this way you can identify top authors, or you can follow top authors for identifying quality publications, quality articles. And moreover, you can also go to this MIT full authors from MIT, and you can also see these particular subject field. For example, your particle physics, your area of interest is particle physics or genetics. You can click on this one, and you'll be able to identify world-class scholars from working on this particular area. And when you identify that this is a particular author belonging to my field, you can just follow this author by giving your email address, and Google Scholar will be sending you notifications whenever he publishes an article, or whenever he gets a citation for a particular article. So this way you can follow these most important authors and most important journals. So I think these are some of the things I wanted to give you. I think you can do now. I think I think I can summarize my topic. Even though we have we have around 40,000 journals approved by UGC and 40,000 journals indexed by Scopus and 40,000 journals indexed by Scopus, 14,000 indexed by Web of Science. Quantitatively, we may have such a large amount of journals, but qualitatively, or when we do a qualitative approach, that may be there may be less number of journals. So in order to identify, or in order to avoid these predatory kind of journals, or less journals having low quality, you can follow these methods: prominent author approach, prominent publishing approach. I mean Science Direct, Wiley, IEEE. That is generally, you know that most of the journals are published by prominent publishing platforms like IEEE. Sorry, prominent publishing platform like Science Direct, Elsevier, Science Direct, Wiley, Springer, Nature, and Emerald Insight, Taylor and Francis, Sage, etc. And professional bodies like IEEE, ACM, ACS, etc. Then again, universities like Oxford University, Cambridge University, Chicago University, IITs, etc. So this way you can identify prominent publishing platforms and prominent authors who have published their article in prominent publishing platforms or quality journals. You can identify, and you can also identify article journals from Google Scholar Metrics service, Google Scholar Metrics, and you can also check Scopus as well as Web of Science for identifying journals having more site score and more impact factor. So thank you very much for giving me an opportunity. So I hope now I stop for any questions or adding. Madhu sir is here and Santosh sir is also here, so they can also add some points that I missed. And moreover, I remember one important point by Madhu sir, and at the reference section he said that don't put don't give a credit to a particular journal article that is published in a predatory journal. So this way we are inviting these homeless journals to our academic field. So that's very, very important, because I have seen that in Science Direct, this citation section or reference section, we can see they have cited many articles from predatory journals. So that's why they get a prominence, they get a chance to enter this scholars area. So that is also important. So please ask any questions in case you have any doubt over these issues, and otherwise they can also supplement. Santosh sir and Madhu sir can also supplement. So thank you very much for giving me this opportunity, and thank you very much for your patient listening. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So that was a wonderful presentation and demonstration from Dr. Surendran Chirokordon. Thank you, Dr. Surendran, for that wonderful presentation. Actually, he was trying to give you some important aspects on how to follow quality. How to follow quality in terms of following authors, following prominent publishing platforms, following prominent journals, etc., and how it can be done through quantitative and qualitative approach. So that was wonderful presentation, Dr. Surendran. Thank you for that. So today we were actually celebrating IEEE's Educational Week, which is usually celebrated in the month of April from 4 to 8. So this workshop was part of IEEE Education Week celebration. So today morning we had a small inaugural session in which we had Dr. Preeti Bajaj, who is chair of Region 10, IEEE Region 10 Education Activity Committee, and also Vice Chancellor of Galgotias University. And she addressed about research literature review, importance of that. And Dr. Mini also joined. She was the chair of IEEE Kerala Section. Then followed by that, we had technical presentations by Dr. Danu Patanashetty. He was giving us IEEE Explore features and how effectively we can utilize that for research. Hope everybody enjoyed his presentation and the tips that is given by him. Followed by Mr. Ratish Iyer from Grammarly. He was trying to introduce you a versatile tool by which you can improve your writing skills, especially how we can utilize that platform for our research paper preparations, etc. That was also a very nice presentation. Then in the afternoon, we had very important session on how we can write a research article. So Dr. Madhu Snyder has given us all his experiences, how he evolved actually from maybe a beginner to an expert level writer of very good articles. And I think most of the participants might have get enough tips to start writing research, how to present their research findings in terms of a paper. And lastly, we had Dr. Surendran, as I just pointed out. He was trying to give you a glimpse of our position with respect to the international universities, and within our state, what is our universities' positions, etc. And to improve this, basically, each and every research scholar has to contribute. And it's not just publishing some work, it is publishing in a very quality platform. So that was the message given by Dr. Surendran. So I would wholeheartedly thank all the people that who have contributed enormously in this program. So thanks to Dr. Preeti Bajaj in her absence. Thanks to Mini for joining us. And thanks to all the resource persons who have contributed a lot in this workshop. Also, I would like to thank IEEE EC members, especially Mr. Alan and Joseph for supporting me to run this on Zoom platform. And also all the research scholars who have joined us, and out of your interest only we get motivation to give such workshops in future as well. So thank you so much. And we will be planning another workshop, maybe not online, offline, where you can actually experience how we can improve all these aspects that we have discussed. So stay tuned for that. And I also wanted to thank my IEEE volunteer colleagues, Mr. Dr. Sailesh Sivan and Dr. Alden Andre, for helping me to framing this program. And as a bottom line, I hope that this one-day workshop might have given you some tips or some information that you can carry in your research journey. And definitely IEEE and maybe people like the resource persons are here to help you out. So they have given you all the contact information. You can contact them as well whenever you get any doubts regarding the topics that we have presented. So thank you so much, and wish you all the best in your research journey. If you have any comments, maybe you can just maybe turn on your mic and just speak a few words. Otherwise, we are happy to receive on emails. Please give your feedback so that we can improve our programs in future. So thank you so much. If somebody wants to give some feedback, please go ahead. Okay, so I think we can conclude. So once again, thank you so much, and goodbye to all. Thank you.